Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Movies by McManus podcast, the podcast where we break down movies, comics, TV, books, any type of media you're into, in the context of who created it and what effect it's trying to have on the world. I'm your host, Greg. I'm with my brother, Mike.
What's up? Back at it.
We're here today talking about the 2019 film The Beach Bum, directed by, at one point, one of my favorite directors, Harmony Korine. Mike,
Definitely.
before I go into really the breakdown of this movie, what did you think about it?
I liked this one. This was another one similar to last week that as it started, I was kind of rolling my eyes, just like, yes. Okay, great, like I get it, like another stupid fucking like isn't this shit crazy movie, and then it got better. I mean, first of all, I've always loved Harmony Korine. His movies are just like
out there.
Yeah, but they're just really important. I feel like you can't even put it into words, like the sort of visceral effect that they have on you, specifically like a Trash Humpers, which is like one of my all-time favorite pieces of anything, music, film, whatever. Julian Donkey Boy, like I love Harmony Korine. I know you loved Spring Breakers. I wasn't like crazy about that. I liked it, but like to me that was like whatever for him. Like his earlier shit is, even though Trash Humpers was actually a good 15 years into his career, so that wasn't that early.
Trash Humpers was 2009.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how Harmony tries to be as a filmmaker. You know, he always talks about how the things he remembers most from movies is not the storyline, but it's the characters or it's certain scenes. And really, his movies are more about the characters. And this movie has a lot of memorable characters. You know, Matthew McConaughey, one of my favorite. It's the most Matthew McConaughey-esque performance.
It is. It's like Matthew McConaughey's kind of like stereotype on steroids.
It's his stereotype, but it's almost as if like every time he's played the Matthew McConaughey stereotype, it's like he's preparing for a Moondog. It really seems like every performance since then has been leading up to this.
Yeah, he seems like he could very easily be Moondog. Like,
in real life, 100%. Yeah. And what you were saying before about how when it started out, it was like, oh, this is another weird movie. You do see in the beginning of how the story, at least, is set up. It's very much it's very much of a, you know, man gets his act together storyline, and then it does not become that.
Well, and you're kind of waiting for any sort of plot to even kick in.
Well, the thing is, it starts off with your very basic, you see this guy, you get a real good glimpse at who he is when he's hanging out in the Florida Keys and he's partying and he's doing all these drugs, and you set up a real conflict where he goes up to Miami for his daughter's wedding, and you see how his family reacts to him, and you see how people around him act to him, and you see his daughter just rolling his eyes, just waiting for this guy to get his life together. You see that his kind of fatherly and husband duties are being taken over by Snoop Dogg's character, and you get a real plot for a movie that never turns into.
No, it goes the other way.
It goes completely the other way, because not only he doesn't change.
No.
And he doubles down at the end of the movie, which I liked a lot. You see clips and scenes from the first part of the movie. They have the callback to the poem of the opening scene. Well, so the opening scene, he's he's on this boat in the ocean with these girls, and there's clips of that scene that are intercut into the last scene when, you know, he's happy and he's got his inheritance from his wife. And it kind of just shows that this character is exactly the same person that he is at the beginning. It's everybody else who changes.
I feel like, without naming names, like I certainly know people who have been maybe not this exaggerated, but not too far off in terms of being like the lovable fuck up.
Yes, you know, 100%. And everybody knows a person like that.
Yeah.
And
Like you just for whatever reason they get away with murder.
Yes.
But when you sit back and look, you're like, they're kind of a fucked up person.
Yeah.
But they have that charm or whatever.
Well, there is like kind of there are a lot of movies in general that are very much, they take that character and they say, okay, he needs to get his life together. And we even see that after the wedding, his wife is killed in a car accident.
Right.
Very early on in the movie, and he's locked out of all his bank accounts. He's locked out of his mansion. He has no money, and he has to finish his book of poems in order to get his inheritance. And you say, in any other movie, you recognize just like, all right, this is the starting point. He's gonna, this is what motivates him to get his life together. And then he breaks into the mansion with a bunch of homeless people in one like insanely wacky scene. He's sentenced to rehab. His daughter is all mad at him. And, you keep waiting for him, because we've seen this in movies time and time and again. And we're waiting for this character to change.
You're expecting the scene where it's like showing him like getting a haircut and like scribbling away in his notepad, like working really hard. And
if it was any other director who wasn't Harmony Korine, that's how that movie would have gone. That's exactly the mainstream of how this movie would have gone. And Harmony Korine as a director says the message is very different. Well, where we all know the lovable fuck up in our life, and our hope is that person can change. And the message of these other movies are, these people in your life have, if you just push them a little bit, they will change. And this movie has a very different message of like, no, you have to accept this person for who they is. And there's actually kind of like a beauty of having these people in our lives, of, these people who are all about fun. They're all about partying, and they're not the ones that have to change. You should, in fact, be more like them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing, right? Because it's like, you can't just say that, no one's ever going to change. Like, there has to be consequences for certain things. There has to be accountability for certain things. You should hopefully learn a lesson or two as you get older. But at the same time, how many times have you seen like relationships fail or situations not work out because you're expecting the other person to change?
Right.
Whether it's a friendship, a business partnership, or whatever, like you have to sort of find that middle ground where it's like, this is who the person is, and you kind of like, all right, what are your strengths? Like, try to highlight the strengths, and.
Well, it's also just that just goes to show you how different Harmony Korine is than most other filmmakers, because like, yes, in reality, like, you want these people to change. And reality, like, if you're a fuck up and you're constantly making things hard for people around you, you should change. And that's why, like, I feel like a lot of people are off put by the ending of this movie, because that's not like a message that they want to see or agree with, Yeah,
I mean, not to get super political right off the bat, but there's also the layer of just like,
there's a layer of capitalism.
Well, there's a layer of privilege where it's like, okay, this, and again, I'm not just getting political for the sake of it, if that's even a thing, but like the idea that this person in a different situation would be, chewed up and spit out by, the criminal justice system, if he was of a different,
if Moondog was played by Denzel Washington instead of Matthew McConaughey, 100%.
I mean, there's racial implications, there's 100%. Financial implications. Like, I guess, like, it's like, all right, take the fucking analytical lens off and just enjoy the ride. But there's even the part where he's like, he puts his hand on a police officer,
right?
Like that. There's certain shit where you kind of have to go like, you kind of have to recognize
there's a level of privilege with Moondog. He's married to a woman who's very wealthy. They mention it. They mention it that like it's her family's money, you know. So there is privilege involved in Moondog.
Right. It's just like, hey man, like, just relax, man. Like, everything's going to be fine. Yeah, for you.
Right.
You know, where it's like a lot of society doesn't have the ability to sort of just fuck off.
Right. Which is, it's interesting for Korine because Harmony Korine actually grew up poor in Nashville.
Well, yeah, and again, you can't fucking, you know, at the end of the day, it's a movie.
Yes,
you know, so it's like you got to realize, like, okay, real life rules don't necessarily apply. Like, let's look to the bigger picture they're trying to get at, which is, I don't know, from my perspective, almost. I hate to continue using this word, but there was also there's something a little sophomoric about it, and I this is like this maybe the third episode that I've kind of gotten a little bit of that sense, or at least from the last two, but. Just the whole idea again of like, hey man, kick back and relax, man. Burn the money. It's like
right.
You know, but hey, look, if you're getting fucked up and you put this movie on and you're chilling, like it's a fun movie. I'm not trying to be a fucking downer here. You know?
No, and I feel like the majority of people who watch this movie are just watching it because they want to laugh and they want to watch Matthew McConaughey get stoned and make a bunch of jokes.
Yeah, no, and it's good for that. Don't get me wrong.
And that is like it kind of is what I mean. I'm always looking into deeper meanings about things.
Sure,
and you know, especially when it comes to Harmony Korine, who at one point I considered Harmony Korine my favorite filmmaker. I don't anymore. Martin Scorsese, my entire adult life has been my favorite filmmaker, but there was a time in college when, like, you know, you're a film student and someone asks you who's your favorite filmmaker and you say Martin Scorsese, they roll their eyes at you because they're like, oh, you're picking someone who's too mainstream, especially, you know, in the film program, very kind of hipster film program that I was in.
Yeah.
So I would say Harmony Korine and people would be, oh, Harmony Korine. Oh, he makes weird movies. Oh, you must be interesting. You must know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there definitely is that like hipster kind of thing that he has going on, but like especially in the 90s, you know, he was attached to like Rosario Dawson, not romantically, but I mean like with kids, or maybe, I don't even know.
Chloe Sevigny, he dated for a very long time.
Yeah, but I mean, look, he's fucking great, you know? So it doesn't matter what like label you throw on, oh, it's hipster, it's this, it's that. It's like his movies, you know, the wrong person trying to make those movies, it would be the most like pretentious bullshit ever.
Right.
But like he's the real deal. So it doesn't come off that way at all. You can't make a Julian Donkey Boy if you have
Julian Donkey Boy is one of my least favorite of his movies. I'm just gonna say, or possibly. I don't know.
I'm just throwing a name out there. I happen to really like that one, but you know,
I like him as a filmmaker. So he views things differently than I do. I'm very much into story. You know, I'm a lot into screenwriting, and I'm very much into story. And if that's not his thing, if he's way more interested in the characters and he's way more interested in just individual scenes, then that's great. And that's a very that's how you want to make a movie. My favorite two of his movies are The Beach Bum and then Spring Breakers, which
I go the other way,
which have the most of a storyline.
I was gonna say, I tend to go the other way. Spring Breakers, like, it was cool, but it just wasn't up to his level, but in my opinion. But maybe we appreciate different things about him, which is fine. But I didn't even know this was Harmony Korine until the credits were rolling. And, this definitely for him is it's not very plot driven for a regular movie, but for Harmony Korine, it really is. Like,
it's less. There's another thing that I like about The Beach Bum that I also like about Spring Breakers is this very like South Florida aesthetic that he puts in. Of everything is hyper saturated. Everything is at sunset, even if it doesn't make sense for it to be at sunset. It's at sunset, and if it is at nighttime or if it's at dark, everything's neon. Like one of my favorite scenes is in Spring Breakers. James Franco and the two girls, and they're all like decked out in neon. They're about to go like kill these drug dealers. I'm really interested in that like hyper saturated aesthetic.
What happened to Franco? He just went away because of I guess he had a Me Too thing. Because he was like, he wouldn't stop for years, and now he's gone. You don't even hear about him anymore.
I have no idea. I know he was on that Stephen King's TV show. He had a show on HBO with
they filmed the scene at our
family
McManus
bar.
Cafe,
yes.
Our family's bar,
with Maggie Gyllenhaal. I never watched it, so I have no idea if it was good or not.
Yeah.
I don't really know what happened to Franco. He kind of just disappeared.
And by the way, Martin Lawrence is amazing
in this movie. Yes. Martin Lawrence, Matthew McConaughey is obviously great, but like when you're talking side characters, Martin Lawrence and Zac Efron, fucking amazing in this movie.
Especially Martin Lawrence.
Especially,
I mean, he had a bit of a bigger part than Zac Efron, a little bit bigger. Similar size part, but I think I don't know. Like he was like a perfect cast.
He was on
that guy.
I think it's so much better that we haven't seen Martin Lawrence since like Big Mama's House. Like Big Mama's House 3, I think was his last movie, like forever ago.
I'm sure it wasn't, but maybe
that was his last movie before this. And
didn't they do Bad Boys? Like Bad Boys.
Bad Boys came out this year. Bad Boys came before. It was after
this.
It was after this.
Okay.
They just came out with Bad Boys.
Gotcha.
And the first scene he's in, I didn't realize Martin Lawrence was going to be in the movie. I'm sure you didn't know that either. But it's very much just like you are seeing an old friend, like how Moondog is. It's like you're looking in, you're like, oh my God, Martin Lawrence is in this. And then he's just hilarious. It's like just Martin Lawrence from when you were a kid, just making you laugh like he did back in the day. Mm-hmm. He's just like has this obsession with dolphins, which is hysterical. And just like his whole business is dolphins, but also you get the sense that like he has no idea what he's talking about when it comes to dolphins.
Not at all.
Like he's
barely put together.
He's talking about he spots some dolphins out there and he goes in and everyone's like, I think those are shark fins.
By the way, how bad was that CGI?
Terrible. It was terrible.
What's the deal with
What's the deal with
no, but seriously, like
it was terrible.
Why
is
CGI just generally god awful? Because I'm not a film person.
People don't want to put the money into it. CGI can be amazing if you put the money in it, and even if you have to put the time, you have to get the right people, you have to put the money in, and you have to be willing to people kind of think of CGI as like a way to save money. That's not how you do it. That's how you end up looking terrible.
Yeah.
And
it happened to not be the biggest deal in the world because it's such an outlandish movie anyway.
No, but you could also just cut to Martin Lawrence screaming and then immediately cut to his foot being taken off.
Right.
And it would have made it so much better. But even the shark
was terrible.
No, and it looked well, you could have cut the shark out of it completely.
I mean, I would have liked to have a shark in there. Yeah. I was wondering if they were going to show it or not, but when they did, I was because the anticipation is actually pretty nicely built up.
Yes, he jumps in the water and the music immediately changes.
Yeah.
And
I had the thought, and I'm sure a lot of people do too, even when they were just showing the fins before it was even, I was like, I bet that's going to be sharks for some reason. And then like when the family wouldn't go in and he went in, I'm like, it's definitely going to be sharks. And then the ominous music hits, and I was like, yeah.
I mean, I think most people vaguely can tell the difference between a dolphin fin and a shark fin. I mean, I looked at it immediately. I was just like, oh yeah, those look like sharks.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't get in that water either. Zac Efron, who like to me is like one of the more underrated actors. Like
nice pair of JNCOs he's wearing.
Nice pair of JNCOs he's wearing. He has a ridiculous like Panini style haircut. He's wearing a Bluetooth in his head that is never explained. A very just like Harmony Korine.
Great outfit.
Amazing outfit. Just very Harmony Korine, just like off-putting, just random dude who's dressed like he's from 2001 in there.
Or the mid-90s.
Mid-90s,
You get Zac Efron's character kind of lets the movie watcher know that like we're not getting your typical redemption story.
No, because in any other movie, so he meets Zac Efron in rehab. He's this kid who like clearly should be there. Like he clearly has problems. And in any other movie, like they would help each other get better. In any other movie, that's the character who would like help Moondog, become a better person, and that they would get better together. But that's not this movie. They break out. They rob a homeless person in a very kind of like, you said your favorite movie of his was Trash Humpers. It's like a very scene out of Trash Humpers, like very like I
think it's even worse because, and it's interesting that this might be the one time, well, they show like really bad behavior throughout the whole movie, but it's kind of coded in this like, hey, we're just like risk-taking fun people.
Yeah.
Except then it shows him like clearly drunk driving a number of times. But in the scene where they basically assault the handicapped person, that was like one example where they showed like explicitly deplorable behavior.
Cruel behavior.
Yeah, which I liked the choice of doing that because it was just another notch on, like, if someone was watching this kind of like, do I root for these people? Do I not? It was like it was a nice notch. It wasn't so heavy-handed on like, fuck the system, like, check these guys out. It was like, no, that was like a terrible thing to do. One thing about the rehab center that I really enjoyed is like, if anyone, without getting into specifics as to like why I know this, but like if anyone has had like experiences like that or some kind of group meeting or whatever, there is this like kind of camaraderie thing that happens where you almost kind of go like, what are we doing here, guys? Like where it's just like, hey, third timers, or like, it's kind of like becomes like a social club in a sense. So I thought that they got that pretty accurately.
How just like going back on just how different Korine is than other filmmakers, like what other filmmaker would like talk trash about rehab in their movies, of trying to say just like in anyone else, a movie, a character goes to rehab, it's shown as a positive. This one is more just like, no, Moondog doesn't belong in rehab. He belongs out here. He belongs with us.
It's the anti-hero thing. Yeah. I mean, from the get-go, it's like the rules are out the window, Right. I mean, he's eating his wife out, like, as the maid is, like, cleaning the pool or whatever. Like, it's just, to your point that you were making on the show earlier on the breakdowns that Greg does, which, by the way, check out our YouTube channel for that. It's sort of like just shows you that everything's kind of out the window in terms of regular like this is how like in your fantasy it would be or something like that.
Right. And it is a very like appealing to how we want life to be.
I mean, maybe how you think you want it to be. Like when you see it being played out, it's very clearly like not.
Well, we want a life where there's really no consequences to our actions. Kinda. I mean, that is.
I think that's a younger thing. Like, I think like maybe there was a time where I kind of felt like that. Yeah. For sure. But I think as you get older, like you realize that there's a lot of. You're paying the bill somehow. Yeah. Like, the bill's always coming. Right. So it's like just kind of stay on top of it before you like let the tab run too long. Because then something really bad will happen.
It is kind of a younger mindset, like a thought of someone from a younger mindset. It's important to remember that like Harmony Korine got famous at 19. Like he wrote Kids at 19. Like he was a teenager, and then
I mean he never grew up.
Yes, basically.
Yeah, and he's got to be in his 50s now.
I think he's late 40s now.
He's got to be. Yeah.
So I first knew about Harmony Korine because of Spring Breakers. When I was in film school, I want to say it was like my sophomore year. And I saw the trailer for Spring Breakers, and at first, like, I thought this movie looks great because it was a bunch of girls from the Disney Channel doing something that or in a movie that they wouldn't normally be in. Like Selena Gomez and Vanessa Hudgens, like in a movie where they have guns and they're robbing people and they're doing drugs and like getting drunk and it's spring breakers. And I thought like just that idea is amazing of we all have certain ideas about these girls, and you're putting them in a situation that you wouldn't normally see them. So I thought that was very interesting. And I had this professor who was like also kind of like a hipster. And, you know, I had no idea who Harmony Korine was, but he had heard me and like other filmmakers, film students talking about this movie Spring Breakers, and he just stops us and he was just like, I'm canceling like what we're going to do today. We're going to watch Gummo instead and talk about it. And Gummo kind of like changed what I thought a movie could be. Like, I know that's a cliche thing to say, but you know, what I'm talking about is like how I'm very much into plot and story. This is a movie that has zero interest in the plot. Yeah. And all his films are kind of like that. And he makes these nonsensical films, which I like, but related to like Moondog, that his poetry is also kind of nonsensical. And I always viewed the Beach Bum in regard to Moondog's poetry that he knows he's kind of fake. Like there are scenes when he says where he literally plagiarizes someone else's poem, he admits to it. And when he has this kind of nonsensical poems that all these like very wealthy Miami straight-laced people are like it's almost like, yeah, I've tricked these people. And I almost think like, does Harmony Korine like think that of me, of like his fans, of saying like, look, I made this nonsense together, and like all these like critics. I mean, Gummo and Julian Donkey Boy won a bunch of awards at film festivals.
You know how critics are. Yeah. Like if they think something's going to be in fashion, you know, everyone's afraid to have the wrong opinion.
The Trash Humpers
now more than ever.
Trash Humpers won like the top prize at the Toronto Film Festival.
Yeah, which I mean that is a joke. Like, you know, but
no,
again,
Trash Humpers is ridiculous.
I know. But I'm saying like if that wasn't made by Harmony Korine and it was a no-name person and it had no marketing behind it, and the same people saw that, it wouldn't be where it was. But I mean, that's just kind of the nature of criticism, I think. Like how like it's kind of impossible to have like true criticism that doesn't. I mean, look at this show that we're doing. It's like everything about like what's the context, like who did it, or, like all that shit. It does matter. But yeah, like the whole idea of like Moondog's character kind of like half like, you know, winking and it being like, I kind of tricked these people. I mean, anyone who's like truly involved in a creative pursuit, like, you know that it's not like lounging at the fucking pool with like two girls and getting drunk and like, you know, partying and stuff, and then you're gonna be brilliant. Like, no, man. Like, you're sitting down and you're fucking working on your craft 5 days a week. Right. Like, there's no fucking shortcut, you know. So it's like you know, they're showing a reality that's
I mean,
not reality.
I feel that with, you know, when I'm writing, you know, how amazing would it be if just like that was the secret of just like, oh, you get drunk with half-naked girls and then you could write the most amazing thing ever.
I mean, yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit. It's always like, you know, the idea of like, oh man, like, you know, fucking Kurt Cobain was really strung out of like, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't know what you're talking about and you don't know what you're doing. And you know, I know now you've shown me more that you're a fraud than I need to know. Like,
I hate the people who in regards to musicians, they talk about like, they're like, oh, their music sucks after they got sober. Like, I've heard that saying so many times.
I mean, those are foolish people.
It's fucking ridiculous because if you're a creative person, you know that actually, like, no, you're most creative when you're in your best mindset, when you're not fucked up all the time.
Yeah, you can't. That's why I respect people who I respect trying more than talent. Like, That's me.
Okay.
I always do. Like, obviously, some people are very, very talented, but if you squander that talent, like right. Moondog does,
right?
It's very hard to be sympathetic for these people. I have certain people, and again, without naming names, that I've worked with. I haven't spent a lot of time talking about my background in music and what I've done, but I've been around some I like I said last week, I don't consider myself successful per se, but I've been around very successful people, and you do see moondogs.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not going to name names, but I've been around literal moondogs.
You're right.
And you know what it is? It's not nice. It's not fun to be a moondog, because when you're that far gone, you don't have any real friends. Everyone around you is either sizing you up or trying to use you for something. Everyone's very fake to you. The amount of fake bullshit that I've seen is utterly insane. One person in particular that I used to work for, I was basically not managing them, but I was sort of their day-to-day kind of assistant for a while, as well as producing on projects and stuff like that. But I would handle like the business.
Yeah.
And a lot of what I saw was real scumbag behavior.
Yes, I remember this, and we won't name names, but yes.
But I'm not even
Moondog,
saying I'm not even saying from this person who was Moondog in this example. I'm saying from other people around that Moondog character.
Yeah,
people that are quote unquote reputable, who are coming to me in my ear and going, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?" Blah 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 blah, and then kissing his ass when he's around.
We see that in the Jonah Hill which I should mention about Jonah Hill.
He plays a great agent.
Well, I actually really don't like his character. I don't like his acting in this movie.
Well, I'm just saying he played what I'll say, and I didn't think he did some stupendous acting job. I didn't think he was bad per se. But my point is, he got again, it's just people that are going to use you.
Yeah.
It's he got the opportunism down.
And it is very much just in the beginning, one of the first scenes, he's on the phone with his wife. And his wife's is saying, come to the wedding. All your friends are here. And Moondog is like, I don't have any friends. I have people. And she was like, well, the people who pretend to be your friends. And it's like, that's true. Very encapsulated in the Jonah Hill character, which I get.
An agent's never your friend anyway.
No.
Like look at these guys like Brian Callen or Chris D'Elia who, listen, if they did what they're being accused of, then fuck them. I don't have any sympathy.
Yes.
Obviously, there's no sympathy for any of that type of behavior. But it's not proven that they've done what they've been accused for. But those agents who I'm sure they were, told them they were like best buddies and like, let's go out to dinner and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure those agents will drop you like a fucking fly.
And I'm sure, well, I don't want to say anything about Brian and Chris D'Elia, but I'm sure, if there was undeniable proof that they didn't do what they're accused of, those same agents would be right back.
Oh, by the way, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that's the nature of what an agent, when you say, oh, these people aren't my friends. No, that's accurate. They're not. Yeah. They are your business partnerships, essentially,
right.
However you want to fucking call it. But the hint of anything going south, they're gone.
Yeah. But you do, I wasn't a fan of Jonah Hill's acting in this because I thought his accent, he puts on this Louisiana accent, which I thought very much kind of takes you out of it. I was not a fan of that, but he does kind of play this very sleazy character who, he's attached to Moondog because he believes he's going to make money off of him. He kind of walked in on Moondog's wife at one point in a very creepy scene. And you do see after Moondog's wife died and Moondog no longer has access to that money, Jonah Hill really wants nothing to do with him after that because now he's seeing just a sinking boat and he wants to get off. But then at the end of the movie, Moondog wins a Pulitzer at the end and Jonah Hill is back and he's acting like, he's Moondog's best friend. again at the end.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is just very, very. These are behaviors that I've seen 1,001 times. I mean, even in my own example, like right now, the band that I play with, you know, a couple of years ago, we didn't have jack shit going on as far as like the internet was concerned or like numbers was concerned, and I won't say who, but there's a particular person who you may refer to as one of those agent people who there was some dialogue with, and it was very like just kind of I don't know how to say it, but like they kind of treat you a certain way when you're coming up, and then when you have a little bit of a track record, like, oh, all of a sudden I could look you up and see X, Y, and Z. It's just a different story. It's a different conversation. It's like you have more you know, but again, you know these things going in. Like, these people are not your friends. Yeah. And they're here to be there when the times are good, and when the times are not so good.
I wonder almost if Harmony Korine is drawing from personal experience, because we see Harmony. We see his career in the late 90s. You know, Gummo is 1997. Julian Donkey Boy is 1999. Both of them, you know, at least at film festivals, very successful. And he's just talked about director. And then there's kind of like a 10-year gap almost. I mean, there was before Trash Humper. I mean, or 7-year gap if you consider Mr. Lonely, which was 2007. But, you know,
well, he was also getting into trouble.
He was getting into trouble in that 7 years. He was famously banned from David Letterman because he, you know, allegedly stole money from Meryl Streep, which was another reason in college why he became my favorite director. Because, like, I kind of like went through a weird fuck Meryl Streep phase.
Why? Is that a whole bag of worms?
No. It was just like who I was and who I wanted to be as a filmmaker when I was, you know, 19 or 20. You know, I mentioned last week about, you know, how I was in my Occupy Wall Street phase, and I was very much like a, you know, fuck the establishment, you know, fuck all these people who want to make like nice, classy movies. Like, I'm gonna watch movies like Kids and Gummo and fucking all that shit.
So I would have been
Meryl
Streep was the
Meryl
the
Streep
government
is. Meryl Streep was like
Meryl Streep did 9/11.
Meryl Streep is QAnon. Meryl Streep is QAnon. Well, she was just
By the way, Trump was asked about QAnon, and they were just like
ridiculous. Oh my god!
Like, you know that they think you're trying to save the world from pedophiles, right?
And he was like, "Is that such a bad thing?" And it was just like,
I mean,
fuck, what?
He literally goes like, "I mean, I do what I can."
It's
so fuck Meryl Streep.
Yeah, and just I forget where I was going with this, but basically I was like, anybody who robs Meryl Streep is my friend. And I was like, I was big into him.
You had issues.
I had issues. Well, I was just like, I don't know. I wanted to be like some revolutionary because I was a fucking, you know, 20-year-old college student.
I know, but think about the actual mechanics behind
robbing Meryl Streep.
Right. Like again, something that sounds like in your brain like funny or fun even, but then you kind of like play it out and you're like, all right, so we're backstage. I'm invited to David Letterman. Like, this is a big deal. And like my go-to move is like, where's Meryl Streep's green room?
Because I'm going to fucking
because I'm gonna rob
her. Yeah, because I'm going to rob her.
Yeah, like that's what, you know. He wasn't in a good place.
No, he wasn't. So I'm sure like Jonah Hill, he relates to, you know, relating to personal experience of just like how many, like after he got banned from Letterman, how many agents do you think just wouldn't pick up the phone after that, you know? Or it was just like, oh yeah, you know, I'll see it. And then after when Trash Humpers came out, or when, you know, because this particular movie, The Beach Bum, wasn't a critical success, but Spring Breakers was.
Well, a lot of like what people in the industry, whether it's an agent or a manager or, someone who's going to represent you or someone who's going to put out a piece of work by you. Like a lot of times what they do is they'll want to engage you to a certain extent so that they could potentially, like, if you show signs of, say you have something starting to go a little bit viral, or you start to get some positive reviews or something happens, they could just like dip their kind of beak back in and be like, hey, like, we're together. And it's just like, well, if you're representing me, how come like you weren't answering like my emails for, or just, they try to play this weird game where they kind of like get you in a handshake deal, but don't really do anything until you're kind of helping yourself. And then it's like, where were you when I needed you type of thing. That's a lot of the game that they play. I would imagine there's crossover in the film world too. I'm speaking obviously from the music side of things.
Yeah. Snoop Dogg and and Jimmy Buffett are both in this movie.
So that actually was Jimmy Buffett?
That was Jimmy Buffett, yes.
Okay.
Jimmy Buffett.
I wasn't sure if they were just saying that.
And he's weird friends with, I guess he's like, I don't know, like Snoop Dogg's character, Lingerie, I guess.
He was great.
He was amazing. One of like the best lines is like, because Snoop Dogg is having an affair with Moondog's wife.
Yeah.
And when he admits like to Moondog, he's just like, I have to admit,
very sexual.
Yeah, we were doing all types of sexual shit, and it's fucking hilarious. And also, it's just like, because obviously, like, we've seen Snoop Dogg in other movies briefly, but it does kind of feel like this role, how Matthew McConaughey is to Moondog, that Moondog's like his quintessential role, this feels like the quintessential Snoop Dogg role.
And they really did have a lot of good chemistry together as actors.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure they get along in real life, and that's a lot of the part of it.
It seemed like that.
That's a lot of part of acting. I was in my brief time acting, a lot of it I felt like if I'm friends with somebody on camera, I should be able to get along with them in real life. And it was when I did my short film, How Chris Mazzetti Got His Swag Back, I really wanted to talk with Sage, who plays Chris Mazzetti, and I play his best friend. And I was like, we need to talk or through text or whatever, and we need to meet and kind of get along before this, because we're supposed to be playing best friends. And there was another role I did where I like played the devil, and I had like this assistant, and I was like, yeah, we need to be, if you're going to be my assistant and we know each other, we kind of need to like get along. And that's going to go so much farther in just in acting experience, in how you your chemistry is on camera.
Yeah, I wonder to what degree they actually like were getting like fucked up,
I mean, and I'm sure Snoop Dogg. All that weed was probably real.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how Snoop Dogg is, and I'm sure
I mean
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know Jimmy Buffett. I mean, I'm sure he does. He's Jimmy Buffett. Like
it seemed natural.
Yeah, it seemed very natural. Yeah, I mean, it's just the acting in general is great, but even talking about how this movie doesn't have a plot, you're really talking about characters. And Harmony Korine, he's always said he cares more about the characters, and like you remember every person in this movie. There is not a single person in this movie who's forgettable. Yeah,
I love how they even gave like to show how bland the
husband
yes, who's marrying his daughter is. They actually have him drinking milk.
Yes, they have him drinking milk,
and also
hilarious. just how different this movie is. In any other movie, at the end, Matthew McConaughey and like that character would have a moment where Matthew McConaughey would be like, you're not that bad. But in this movie, it's just like, no, the daughter divorces him because he's Olympic. He's like, you know, he's no fun, and we don't want to associate with people who aren't going to be fun, you know. In any other movie, like where like a father does not get along with his daughter's husband, by the end they like find something they have in common.
Or there's that scene where it's like, you're not that bad,
yes,
kid.
Exactly. And in any, you know,
let's throw the baseball around, Pop. Like,
and another, you know, he's such a I do like that character because he's just such a he's just such a dweeb loser. He's well played. He has this line that I fucking love when they're at the wedding and, you know, Snoop Dogg's there with all his friends and he's like, this wedding was off the hook. And he says it in a way and kind of looks at the people at the wedding as if he's like expecting Snoop Dogg and his friends to be like, oh, he used off the hook. All right, nice. I like this guy now.
I mean, my thing always, like, whenever someone gives you that strong of a reaction, like when we did the movie last week, the evil boss, it's just like, you know, hey, listen, hats off, great acting job.
Great.
You know? Right. I mean, what do you think is the point of this whole movie, you know? What's your takeaway? Because
my takeaway is that we look at people like Moondog as they're the ones that need to change. We always think of like, you need to grow up. Like, life isn't all about having fun. Life isn't all about getting drunk and being stoned and doing whatever you want. You need to, you need to take on responsibility. You need to get a job, or, you know, a job that pays well. And if, you know, you can't just be doing what you love when, you need to
grow up.
Grow up is basically what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And this movie is saying, like, no, that philosophy is wrong. We need people like Moondog, and we should all be more like that. We shouldn't be so obsessed with material wealth, and we shouldn't be obsessed with prestige or how people think of us or what level of respect we're getting from the world. That this Moondog lifestyle of just like go with the flow, you know, if this is what makes you happy, then do that, is much more important. And like in just the world we live in, that's kind of like a philosophy that people need, you know?
I guess especially in America, right?
Especially in America, where it's like, especially in the film industry, where you're working 12-hour days a minimum. And, you know, especially in music, where you're always working, where you in the music industry, in your industry, you are never not being a creative, where you are never not producing.
Well, there's no option, you know.
Yes.
Like I always say, because, like, you know, this is called Movies by McManus. We're brothers. This, you know, I don't think we've even established that per se, but maybe in the beginning, you know, he's in the film industry.
Yes.
I'm in the music industry, and, you know, I always go like, you know, from my perspective, sometimes I've said like, hey man, at least you have an industry, you know, because with music, there's very little, you know, again, it depends what you want to be. If you're a session person, if you're, you know, just trying to work on other people's projects, but if you're trying to get your own projects off the ground, it's all on you, you know? So it's just very, it's one of those things that, you know, nobody can really appreciate unless they're in the situation. And a lot of people kind of, you know, without maybe knowing it, you know, they're very condescending about the fact that you're in this industry. But everybody loves fucking music, right?
Yes.
Everyone loves entertainment, and this is something that we've touched on last week too. Everyone loves entertainment, but they kind of shit on people that are in entertainment.
Yes, and it's another thing, like, in the film industry, you know, you work long hours a lot. And every time I like complain about that, people always have this condescending way of being like, well, at least you're working in the film industry. At least it's like something that you love and want to do. And it's like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with like me being happy with what I do?
No, I was just going to say.
I'm just in general, there's a very much like, idea in America that like work should be a struggle.
Pain is good.
That pain is good and work should be a struggle. And it's like, no, be like
that's
Moondog.
man-made bullshit.
That's man-made bullshit.
That's like made up by like people like Bezos and
and Moondog is a force of nature who's trying to
shout out to Moondog.
Shout out to Moondog.
This was not an easy movie to watch being sober. I'll tell you that. You know,
I've never watched this movie drunk.
I'm saying being currently
yes.
for the people
it would
unaware.
Be funner.
I'm currently like not doing anything. I'm currently sober, so like just it made me want to get fucked up. As my
point. I was like that. I saw Spring Breakers in the theater, and we like snuck in a bottle of Jack Daniels because it's like, this is the movie you want to be drunk for. And we had this thing of like, we were going to take a shot every time they said spring break, and like 20 minutes in the movie we were like, we have to stop doing this. we like changed it to like, all right, every other time, and then we're like, all right, maybe every 5 times they say it, because it's literally every 5 seconds James Franco looks at the camera and is like, spring break forever.
James Franco, who wasn't based off of Riff Raff.
No, because there was lawsuits, and because originally Harmony Korine wanted to cast Riff Raff.
It was obviously Riff Raff.
That's another, like, you know, it's
Shout out to Riff Raff.
It's about the characters in that too, because like I don't remember like everything that happens in Spring Breakers, but I remember most of James Franco's lines. I mean, half of them were just him saying "Spring Break Forever." But
Moondog, or what was Franco's character?
Moondog was Alien. Oh, I said
Moondog or Alien?
Like, who do I like better
as a better character?
Who's a better character? Moondog.
I would
who
say
would win in a fight? Alien.
Yeah. Well, Moondog's not.
All right,
Moondog's not a fighter.
Moondog's not a fighter, man. But hold on, Alien would beat up Moondog, but Matthew McConaughey would beat up James Franco.
Yeah. I don't know. None of these guys are particularly violent to me.
No,
I'm not really scared of either of these folks. Yeah. Where does this one fall within like Harmony Korine's filmography for you? Is that a word? Filmography?
Filmography.
We say
is a word.
Discography. You say filmography.
Filmography is a word. Yes.
Okay.
Second. Let me think.
Out of all of his films?
I told you I prefer.
No, I know.
Story. I mean, I know that's not Korine's thing, but I prefer. Spring Breakers is probably number 1.
Wow, we're way different on this.
Beach Bum, a close second. And then I'd have to say, well, I've never seen Mr. Lonely.
Yeah. 1 and 2 for me. 1 is Trash Humpers and 2 is Julian Donkey Boy.
Julian Donkey Boy is probably my least favorite.
Yeah.
Trash Humper is probably my second least favorite.
Werner Herzog. In Julian Donkey Boy is great.
Yes. He has a lot of weird short films. He like came out with another short film that was called Duck Duck. That's just like people in like animal costumes just skateboarding around Venice Beach. He has all right. So also, I think this was like 2002. This was when like he was in his real dark period. I should mention it because I had no idea about this, because like they got rid of this short film. You can't find it anywhere. It's Harmony Korine and Johnny Depp playing O.J. Simpson and Kato Kaelin, and Harmony Korine is in blackface.
That's why you can't find it.
That's why you can't find it. It's gone. It's out of like, even on like IMDb, he's like deleted it. He's like trying to delete every like record of this thing ever existing. This was like, they said it was like they shot it while Johnny Depp was on the set of Blow, so it must be like 2002. But just like the height of how messed up he was, and just like thinking that that's an okay idea.
I mean, you know, when you're that fucked up, like you think, you know, you have all sorts of ideas. Sense is not something that exists. Like when you're truly gone, like, you know, your mind is not in a good decision making mode. But probably for the best for him you can't find it.
He directed one of my favorite Rihanna music videos, and he did a bunch of Needed Me. Do you know that song?
No.
It's like
how the fuck that is so weird.
I mean, there are a lot of famous people who love him.
Yeah, I guess.
Selena Gomez wanted to be.
Was it after Spring Breakers?
It was after Spring Breakers.
That makes sense. Because that was a really big movie.
That was a big movie, and if you watch this Rihanna music video of "Needed Me," it's that same aesthetic where it's very much like sunset, like South Beach, Miami vibes.
Yeah,
and he also did like a lot of David Blaine stuff, like back in the day. Like all the like David Blaine magic stuff, like back in the day,
really
was directed by Harmony Korine. Yes,
I don't know.
He's had a weird career.
Magic is just something that
You're not a fan of Blaine?
I just no. Like I saw that. Whatever. I don't know. I can't. Yeah. Magic is just to me is like creepy. Like what are you doing? Well,
he's
here?
A creepy dude. He plays into that definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, this was a good one.
This was a good one. There's a lot to talk about. I mean, this was a guy who, like, one of my favorite, at least at the time. Now it's Scorsese and probably, like, Spike Lee is a close second for my favorite directors.
It's a good list.
Yeah. And, I don't know, Korine, he's probably in the top 10, but, at a time he was like number 1. At a time I was like, I say now I'm more into like story when it comes to movies, but there was a time when I was like, I just want to be like Korine, like fuck all that. And there's another movie called The Mid-90s that Jonah Hill directed that is very similar to like the Harmony Korine style of us, like we care about these characters, and then it's certain scenes that link these characters together, but we're not really interested in telling a story.
Yeah.
You have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I like this one. I wasn't blown away by it. It's not one of my favorite Harmony Korine movies, but it's definitely enjoyable. I would definitely watch it again. It's one of those movies you could like watch a million times.
Yes, like, and I've seen it 3 times. Yeah, and I've probably seen Spring Breakers like 5 times.
Yeah, so. It's something that you could just kind of like put on.
Yeah,
I could see it definitely being someone's like favorite movie. Like it has like staying power in the sense that like it could be a cult classic to me.
Well, it's definitely my favorite McConaughey performance, or one of my favorites.
I give that to Dallas Buyers Club.
Oh yeah, I take it back. Actually, I give that to True Detective.
Yeah.
All right.
But it was good.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for us. This has been the Movies by McManus podcast. If you would like, follow our YouTube channel where I'll do kind of smaller breakdowns of certain movies. Follow us on social media at Movies by McManus. I'm Greg. This is my brother Mike.
Yeah, and check out the YouTube channel, like my brother was saying, for the video versions of the podcast. And he also has his shorter breakdowns. Each short breakdown we do an accompanying podcast for, so they're related. And check us out on social media at Movies by McManus, and we will see you next time.
We'll see you next time.